Yo, 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 Pisstown pals. This is District Sentinel Radio, the newscast of record for the left, airing most Mondays through Thursdays. I'm Sam Sachs.
I'm Sam Knight.
We are broadcasting out of the Sentinel Fort in Washington, D.C. Check out that website, districtsentinel.com. Do not check out Sam Knight One's Twitter feed right now. It's down.
I got a 7-day ban for criticizing Zionism to the Harry Potter lady. J.K. Rowling thinks she can go around and declare herself the arbiter of what's anti-Semitic, including to anti-Zionist Jews, who evidently, I don't know, we're just written off.
I got to say, another one that isn't really worthy of a suspension. You've had a few of these unworthy of suspensions. You've had a few worthy suspensions as well, which has probably brought these unworthy suspensions into the mix. But I don't want to blame you. We need to keep blame where it should be placed, which is on Twitter and on Mr. Dorsey. But you found yourself relating to a Ben Garrison cartoon today.
Only because it was about a Twitter ban, and I made that remark in jest.
Yeah.
But
not actually a fan of Ben Garrison here at the Sentinel.
Them's the breaks. I'm pissed off because a lot of stuff is going on Twitter
right
now.
Today was a bit of a busy day online.
Busy day online, and not just because of news stuff, because of other stuff, which we'll get to in a sec about Twitter.
The big story.
The big story on Twitter. But before we do, I just wanted to give our subscribers a little flavor of the sort of stuff we deal with here, sort of emails we sift through on a daily basis. This is from the Department of Transportation Inspector General. Subject, quote, Utah man indicted for multiple firearms violations while under indictment for aiming a laser at an aircraft.
Yikes. Glad to see the Department of Transportation Inspector General staying busy here.
Yeah.
This guy could be a real menace.
He certainly could be. He certainly could be. I just wanted to give everyone a flavor of the colorful stuff that comes through. This
is in between the emails we get from CBP of weed seizures that they always have. Those are the lamest emails we get.
They are probably they're definitely the lamest ones we get. Not far behind are all the FDA kratom salmonella recall notices, which I'm sure those are done in great faith.
All right, some of the bigger news of the day. More allegations over the weekend against Supreme Court nominee Brett Kavanaugh. Got a woman who alleges in college that a drunken Kavanaugh whipped it out and put his dick in her face. We now have other people who haven't been named yet. We've got Michael Avenatti claiming he represents someone. So more and more allegations stacking up. Plus, just like we're getting these sort of circumstantial evidence that Kavanaugh, this is very feasible considering he bragged about getting blackout drunk and how many beers he and Mark Judge would drink all the time. So maybe he doesn't remember any of this stuff. I doubt that, but certainly he's put himself in situations where it seems like this stuff is all plausible. Not to mention the school he went to. And we've got all the women who've come from that school now writing a letter saying that they believe Dr. Blasey Ford. So
we also saw a ridiculous story over the weekend where Kavanaugh sought to clear his good name by providing his calendars from 1982, which someone pointed out on Twitter before I got banned. I commented on this, which was that Kavanaugh also bragged in his yearbook that year that he drank 100 kegs with Mark Press. So if those 100 kegs aren't on the calendar, I think a few items are missing. It sounds like something a high schooler would do to lie to their parents about all the times they're getting blitzed.
No, my calendar here says that I wasn't actually drunk that day.
I was actually at an Eagle Scouts meeting, Mom. If you look at my calendar, agenda item 3, Jesus Christ.
So as the accusations rack up, we've got Republican senators who are staying firm behind Kavanaugh. Mitch McConnell going to the Senate floor today, saying that this is all a giant smear. He said last Friday at, was it Value Voters or whatever, some conservative summit he was at, that the Kavanaugh's nomination will be voted on. He will be confirmed. You have Orrin Hatch and others saying that, yes, we should hear from Dr. Ford, obviously, but as soon as that's over, we should vote to confirm Kavanaugh. So clearly these guys have all made up their mind. The hearing is set for Thursday. Dr. Ford has said that she will testify Thursday. We'll hear from Kavanaugh on Thursday. Which brings us to a bizarre story that happened today involving Rod Rosenstein, the Deputy Attorney General, who we got news from Access-obsessed journalist from Axios that basically has Access in its name, Jonathan Swan, when he tweeted that...
It does have Access in its name, doesn't it?
We have Jonathan Swan reporting out this morning that Rod Rosenstein has resigned. Of course, half hour later, the exact opposite was the case. Rod Rosenstein had not resigned, but was daring the president to fire him. And Rod Rosenstein at this time was going to the White House, what was presumed to be to get fired. Turns out he was going there for a regular meeting. He met also with White House Chief of Staff, John Kelly, and apparently Rosenstein spoke on the phone with Trump. This all fallout, of course, from the article last week in which it was alleged that Rosenstein talked about wearing a wire and executing the 25th Amendment to get rid of Trump, to get Trump out of office. Anyways, Rosenstein apparently had a conversation with Trump at the White House. He's keeping his job, but they have a meeting, Trump and Rosenstein, scheduled for Thursday. Same day as the Kavanaugh hearing. It's looking like we could have this firing or this high-profile resignation of Rosenstein. Maybe that's not planned to be on the same day. Maybe it just works out that Trump decided to have his follow-up meeting with Rosenstein on the same day by coincidence as the Kavanaugh hearing, but I'm not so sure of that.
Yeah, well, Trump is in New York currently for the UN General Assembly. It is possible Thursday was the first time they can meet face-to-face, although Rosenstein could hop on the Acela and roll up to Manhattan real quick and say what's up there. But if Trump does fire Rosenstein on Thursday, he's already blew his wad because it won't be a big story anymore because everyone's expecting it after today.
Yeah. Maybe Jonathan Swan's dumb reporting changed events that happened. I don't know, but bizarre times today in between the whole Rosenstein going to the White House and talking to Trump and then rescheduling this meeting for Thursday. Hard to figure out what's going on just yet.
I'm a little loath to make predictions like this, but as we've noted on the show, there are questions about Kavanaugh's times clerking for Alex Kaczynski, the creepy circuit court judge who had to resign because he was a predator. And I would expect maybe between now and Thursday, based on what we saw from Deborah Ramirez, the second woman to accuse Kavanaugh, this sort of news usually comes in not just pairs, but multiple pairs. Yeah. I would expect that before Thursday, we might hear more about the sordid history of Brett Kavanaugh.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised at all if there's more women to come forward, too. Nothing about this guy's past here suggests that this is it.
Okay, let's end the pre-show banter on a
this is the big news.
On a lighter note.
This is a big news. Should I just put up the tweet here?
This is some big news. Okay.
Philadelphia Flyers.
Philadelphia Flyers, hockey's Philadelphia Flyers have come out with a new mascot. Appeared to set Twitter alight.
Gritty.
Gritty is the name of the mascot. And
Gritty challenging the Penguins here. Sleep with one eye open tonight, bird.
I don't know how to describe Gritty for listeners who aren't watching the stream, but do you remember that old Bugs Bunny cartoon with the monster who Bugs has to paint the monster's nails?
The big red furry monster.
Yeah,
orange-haired furry monster.
Gritty kind of looks like that.
Yeah, looks like that. Who's gotten punched in the face a few times too. It has kind of that gritty hockey player look to Gritty as well. Can I say something? I like Gritty.
I like Gritty too.
And seeing all the hate on Gritty on Twitter just confirmed to me that website is full of sad, angry people who can't enjoy anything because Gritty's fun. Gritty's good. And to me, Gritty's of the same mold as the great fucking what's the Phillies mascot?
The
Fanatic.
The Fanatic.
Like they're of the same mold. Great mascots. You can't identify them. You don't know what the hell they are, but you're drawn to it.
Reminds me of the ex-Montreal Expos mascot, now Montreal Canadiens mascot, Youppi. Youppi kind of looks a little like Gritty.
Really? All right. Haikus coming up a bit later, but first, it's my mom's birthday, Monday, September 24th, 2018. Here's the news.
Tomorrow, President Trump is set to give his address to this year's UN General Assembly. Earlier today, members of his cabinet previewed his speech, trumpeting the administration's hostile approach to Iran. Here was Secretary of State Mike Pompeo.
You can bet the president will have well-deserved strong words for the Iranian regime, which is among the worst violators of UN Security Council resolutions, if not the absolute worst in the world. He'll call on every country to join our pressure campaign in order to thwart Iran's global torrent of destructive activity.
Destructive activity, given what the U.S. and its allies have done and are doing across the Middle East, sounds like the administration wants to slow walk the country towards a war with Iran more than anything else. But that just isn't true, officials said today. Calming everyone's fears, here's just the guy to do it, National Security Advisor John Bolton.
As I've said repeatedly, regime change in Iran is not the administration's policy. As Mike Pompeo just said, we've imposed very stringent sanctions on Iran. More are coming. And what we expect from Iran is massive changes in their behavior. And until that happens, we will continue to exert what the president has called maximum pressure. That's what we intend to do.
So
this is what a run-up to war looks like, folks.
More sanctions. It's classic run-up to war playbook. First, you got some sanctions, then you got more sanctions, and you're ratcheting up the diplomatic pressure. You're talking about changing behavior.
Yeah.
Setting some goalposts. Invariably, goalposts that can be moved. Now, this comes just days after militants opened fire at a parade in Iran in the city of Avaz, killing 25 people, wounding 60 more. Arab separatists claimed responsibility. Iranian officials, including President Hassan Rouhani, accused the U.S. and its allies of having ties to the attack. U.S. Ambassador to the UN, Nikki Haley, said this yesterday in response, quote, "He can blame us all he wants. The thing he's got to do is look at the mirror." Sounds like something you'd say if you thought doing terrorism was actually good. If it advanced aggressive U.S. militarism. A little too quick there.
A little too quick there. Sorry, I didn't get your take in there at the end. My bad. Moving on, Commerce Secretary Wilbur Ross is about to get deposed. We talked about a story last week involving Ross and a lawsuit launched against the U.S. government for adding a citizenship question to the next U.S. Census. The working theory has been that Ross pushed for the inclusion of the question at the behest of the administration in order to depress responses from undocumented communities and thus justify reducing public assistance to those areas, hence why a lawsuit was brought against Ross. Now, Ross has denied this narrative. Instead, he claims that the Department of Justice wanted the citizenship question added to gather data to enforce the Voting Rights Act, but internal memos released as part of the legal proceedings show that Ross lied and that the Justice Department wanted nothing to do with the census changes. In light of all that, on Friday, U.S. District Judge Jesse Furman ordered Ross to face a deposition. The judge acknowledged that forcing a department head to face a deposition is rare. Shouldn't be. I don't know why that is. But in this case, Furman writes, quote, "Ross was personally and directly involved in the decision and the unusual process leading to it to an unusual degree. Double unusual there from the judge. Furman also noted that the deposition is necessary since it looks like Ross may have lied to Congress earlier this year when he testified on that citizenship question and claimed that the Justice Department was behind it. According to Courthouse News, the judge did cut Ross a bit of a break, ruling that the deposition can't last more than 4 hours and should be conducted at a location convenient to the secretary. Look, I think this is a growing scandal here involving a top government official wanting to target vulnerable communities. He just happens to be one of many government officials in this case who are doing that. Time to take a quick break where we give thanks to all our subscribers who are either listening or watching or just supporting us out of the goodness of their heart. It's time to read some haiku. This first one goes out to John. Lots of confusion, but one thing is very clear. Jonathan Swan sucks.
That is very clear indeed. Thank you, John. This is for Ryan. DC, high alert. Everyone is on Rod Watch. RodCon, level 1.
Get to RodCon level 4 on Thursday. It's going to be wild. Thank you, Ryan. This one is for Robert. Turn off the AC. Summer is over. Time to record in onesies. Hell yeah.
Thank you, Robert.
I know you like it when I record in the onesie.
And the Snuggie. The Snuggie's my favorite.
Yeah.
I just wish there was a Snuggie for the guests, too, sometimes.
Yeah, we'll get one for this winter.
All right, anyway, moving on. This is for Tarek. The Rosenstein plot, or as its code name is known, Objective Ramrod.
Thank you, Tarek. This one is for Ugg. We should all be pissed that wages still lag behind productivity.
Thank you, Ugg. Finally, this is for Austin. Post-presidency, I predict that Donald Trump will market diapers.
Thank you, Austin. Thank you to all the new subscribers on Patreon, patreon.com/District Sentinel. Keep listening if you haven't heard your haiku. It's coming up.
Another round of shots have been fired in the trade war between the U.S. and China. Today, American tariffs on $200 billion worth of Chinese goods went into effect. Thousands of Chinese products now face import taxes of up to 10%. That includes agricultural and meat products, household items, and industrial equipment, according to the Washington Post. The paper said the charge should impact the price of food, clothing, furniture, toys, and cars, among other goods. This comes months after the Trump administration slapped tariffs on $50 billion in Chinese imports, a move that triggered retaliation from China. Today, Beijing responded with additional taxes on $60 billion in imports from the U.S. As the Post noted today, the Chinese government is running out of American imports to tax in the ongoing trade war. The U.S., on the other hand, could still hit hundreds of billions of Chinese goods with additional tariffs. Earlier this month, President Trump said, quote, "There's another $267 billion ready to go on short notice if I want. That totally changes the equation." While the U.S. can still impose while the U.S. can still impose tariffs on more goods and China can't retaliate, there's still another variable in the equation, the so-called equation. China could start directly messing with the supply chain of major U.S. brands.
Finally today, let the bomb trains rain. The Trump administration repealed an Obama-era rule that would have mandated more effective braking mechanisms on trains that transport crude. The rule was rolled out in 2015 in response to several high-profile derailments that led to massive and deadly explosions, leading to the transportation systems to be called bomb trains. There was that city in Quebec that pretty much got wiped off the map. The Obama-era regulation called for new oil car designs and fire prevention measures. It also required the installation of electronically controlled pneumatic brakes on all bomb trains. But that last part has now been scrapped. after a congressionally mandated study by the Pipelines and Hazardous Materials Safety Administration. The agency found that, quote, the expected costs of requiring ECP brakes would be higher than the expected benefits of the requirement. Really good to see government agencies charged with keeping the public safe talking like they're on a quarterly conference call with oil and railroad industry shareholders. That is pretty disgusting stuff. All right, that is the newscast for today. Before we go, any buzz going on in the chat room?
Indeed, there is.
Ooh, lots of buzz.
Joe says Gossamer, the name of the orange monster in Bugs Bunny, is Gossamer. Rob,
I wonder if there could be a copyright here claim.
Rob Zolatar says, if J.K. Rowling were a fictional character, Harry Potter would be trying to stop her. Then we have, having trouble scrolling up here. Then we have Christopher saying, you think they'll ever do a bong rip on camera? Ooh. Hashtag Team Pisstown Pals. Then Tina, who may or may not be Sam's mom, says... Elon Musk. Elon Musk already did that, so it wouldn't be original anymore. The Sams are original. They are leaders, not followers. Tina, agree. I think we're going to smoke a huge joint instead.
Yeah. I'm if my mom did a typo when she said Elon Musk or was just doing Twitter irony and renamed Elon. I'll have to ask her later. Anything else you got?
Nope. That's about that about cuts it. That's good enough for now.
In that case, let's end the show right there. Call the rant line 202-684-6108. We'll play your messages on the air. Sponsors of the show include the Congressional Dish podcast hosted by Jen Briney. Find it at congressionaldish.com. Another sponsor, levelnews.org. The newscast returns tomorrow. We're here in D.C., so you don't have to be.